Welcome back to the Pursuit of Accuracy. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Burris XTR Pro. Going to be telling you the ins and outs of this, giving you my realistic opinion of this optic, having been running it for 2 months on 2 different guns. I'm going to show you scope cam footage. You're going to see some close-ups, and we're going to talk about the features without killing you, about the specs that you can read on the manufacturer's website. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Now, I first wanted to kick this off with some pretty interesting B-roll that I ended up shooting. And what's interesting is if you look kind of from the left going to the right, especially once we get out to around 100 yards, 150, you are going to see the bullet in flight. And I just thought that was pretty cool. And of course, we're using the Burris XTR Pro, and it was just me really doing some shooting from 50 to 180 yards. And while you're watching that, I'd be remiss without mentioning our channel sponsors, Utah Airguns. We appreciate those guys. They have competitive pricing, they ship fast, and they have really good customer service. If you were in the market for anything airgun or precision rifle shooting, I think you'd be surprised what they actually offer. And I truly appreciate it if you go check those guys out. We'll have them linked in the description below. But back to the Burris XTR Pro, the reason you are watching this video. Now I'm gonna quickly give you the rundown of this. This is obviously 34mm main tube, 56mm objective. This is a 5.5 to 30, and this is really a scope that you're going to be looking at if you were shooting PRS, NRL, NRL 22X, those kind of things. That's where this scope is going to fit. Now, it does have a non-locking, rather large and interesting turret we'll talk more about later for the elevation, and the windage on this is actually capped. I don't mind that. You may mind that, but you can simply remove that cover and have an exposed turret. That's going to work like anything else, albeit a little bit smaller. This does have illumination, and it does parallax down to 20 yards. So one big thing is a lot of people boast about internal amounts of elevation adjustment. And for me, that spec, it depends on the turret style, depends on the rifle you're using on. So in our case, on the CZ457, this is the full monocam build. We have a 30 MOA base. I think that's pretty atypical for this kind of thing for 22s, but let's see what we can dial. There's 12, 23. We can dial about 25 mils on this setup with a 50-yard zero, and you can hear how tactile these turrets are, and they are very crisp. You can feel every single little detent. There's no mush, and it has a very positive zero stop. So now that we know a little bit about this scope, I'm going to go ahead and loop in some scope cam footage. Now I would like to thank Don over at Rimfire SS and Jeremy at 22 Lima Romeo, because recently I picked up a new scope cam. It is a Trigger Can 2.1, and those guys have kind of helped me get it set up and figured out. Now, I'm still figuring it out, so the footage is probably going to get better. If you go look at Jeremy's footage on 22 Lima Romeo, if you're not subscribed over there, you probably need to be. Same with Don at Rimfire SS. Now, let's talk about some of the features and some of the more interesting reasons why you might actually want to pick this up. Now, this is around $2,200, so for that price point, you should expect really good glass, and this thing definitely delivers in that department. Compared to other optics around the same price point, I have no issues with the glass quality here. Very easy to see hits and misses out the distance, and I have limited my use with this to about 600 or 700 yards. I haven't pushed it past that, so that's pretty much been my experience with it. All right, so we're going to let the background be defocused and we're pulled in, but there you can see we have our green illumination on, and we're going to step that down. And basically we got to have that sucker full tilt, or we're not going to see it during the daytime, but it is daytime bright. As you can see, it's usable there. We're going to swap over now to our red. And the red you can see there, but again, just daylight bright, which is fine, because when I'm using this, I'm shooting in the shadows. That's when I need it. I really don't need it otherwise. So the level of illumination with this is actually just fine to me. I have no problems with that. I did want to point out one thing here. Let's go back. Let's
go back to this and turn this back on our full brightness. But if you're looking at that, not the entire reticle is illuminated, and that would be my one complaint for this. A lot of good things going on, but I do prefer to have the entire reticle. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure that it actually matters a whole lot, but it seems to matter to me. It's just my preference.
While we're talking about the reticle, you can see this has a very unique reticle. If you go over their website, they're going to give you the ins and outs and all about it. But the most interesting part to me is instead of a floating dot, which I'm used to, you have that plus symbol. Now you can measure with that, and I have to admit, while I'm a floating dot fan, that little plus symbol is growing on me. It's very precise, and it doesn't cover up small targets nearly as bad as a floating dot. Although I still find the floating dot extremely useful, but this reticle surely is growing on me little by little the more I use this optic. Now with this, you are going to get the throw lever, you are going to get the sunshade. Basically, you got everything you need. Also, you are going to get, I'm going to say 3 turrets. You have this turret, which is kind of like your whiteboard turret. What's interesting about this is you can write on this guy, you can erase it. So instead of having a dope card, you can just mark your elevation dials. You've got plenty of room up above it to write little notes, whether that be target sequences or shapes or whatever would help you get through the stage. But as you can see, it's off, and it has a plain black turret, which looks pretty good. But all you have to do is squeeze on the sides and pluck that guy off. Now, underneath this is yet another very usable turret. So this is the one that's permanently attached to the scope, unless you're willing to take it apart. And it works just like the other ones, not a single problem there. So that is actually pretty cool, because you can take this when you're not on the stage and write all your information down. When you go and get ready to shoot, all you have to do is take your turret, line it back up to where it's on 0, it clicks down, and you are good to go. So that's really cool. You're getting 2. I think you can buy extras of these. I haven't been real successful in finding where exactly to get them, but I have heard before that you can buy these. It would be cool if you could have 2 or 3 and you could prep some dope in advance and use that. I'm going to tip this towards you here. Now, this is how you're going to get to your toolless 0 stop and how you are going to reset your turret. And that's going to be as simple as simply releasing this lever. I like to take a little piece of brass or something I have. You pop this lever out, and then you can just free spin this, lock it back down, and you are zeroed, good to go. So that's a really interesting and unique system that is very much specific to this scope, and I found it to be very useful. I am a big fan of toolless stuff. Now for the $2,200, and that's an approximate price point for this, could be watching this in 6 months, and who knows, you may find it a little cheaper, but that's about the going rate. You're getting all the things you would expect. The glass quality, the coatings, you're getting the sunshade, the throw lever, you're getting a very robust optic, and it is dialed. All my holdovers between the CZ and the Rim-X, everything has lined up great, and this has worked really well, and that's to be expected, like I said. But I think if you're interested in this optic in particular, then you are probably interested in the fact that you can do some really cool things with the turrets, the fact that it has interchangeable turrets that are really easy to use, the toolless 0 stop, and another interesting point here, something that I didn't know I really liked until I had it, is there is a locking ring on here for adjusting the diopter. So you unlock the ring, you make your diopter adjustments. I'm not changing mine because it's set up. And then you take this ring and you simply lock that into place. And you don't have to worry about someone accidentally changing your diopter settings on you. I know sometimes I'll let other shooters use my rifles, and the first thing they do is start screwing with my diopter settings on my scope because they don't think it's set right for them. And that can be pretty frustrating, because if you've been down the road of getting that perfect, then you know how much time and effort you can put into that between blinking, opening your eyes. It's like an eye test, but you're self-administering the misery. So I do like that locking feature. I think this is the first scope I've had that on. But overall, I've been very impressed with this optic. For $2,200, it is competing with some other big names, and one of those is going to be Zeiss. And I'm just going to tell you up front that I don't have a lot of experience with a Zeiss. I have looked through and shot a Zeiss S3, but not a ton. So based on what I can remember, this glass is very comparable. And the other competitor that I do have would be the Element Theos, and I will say that that glass is also very comparable. We put these side by side, and honestly, between me and my buddy, it was very hard to pick a winner, and I really think that's going to come down to the particular set of scopes. If you own both of those, maybe yours, the Burris, is going to be better to your eye, while maybe mine thinks that the Element Theos is better, but it's so close that it's pretty much negligible. It's going to come down to the individual's eye and the individual optic you get, because maybe the coating on this one is a hair better than the next one on the line, so on and so forth. And I'm talking percentages here. So that's how close that I think this will be to all the other scopes in this price range. But again, really happy with this for $2,200. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I'm really interested to shoot this in a match. I'm going to shoot this rifle and optic in an upcoming 22 DMR match, and I'm going to use this feature, and I will do a follow-up video based on that. I'll show some match footage from that, and I'll talk about whether or not I actually found this useful in a match setting, whether it was more of a hindrance, or whether I'm going to ditch dope cards on this rifle altogether because I can use this. So all I can say is that I've been impressed with this optic, and I think it is more than fairly priced for what it delivers. If you like the looks of the reticle, if you like the idea of having turret options that you can remove and do interesting things with, then this is probably worth a hard look before you drop money on something else. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you on the next one.